Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the program. It's time once again for some 4K for you. Today it's me and Valiant's even remote himself. So how are you doing besides driving?
I'm doing great. We just had a really long live stream a moment ago covering the latest Disney earnings call. But yeah, in the car right now on the way to pick up Renegade Jr. We'll be home here in about 20 minutes or so, and we'll be hopping back into the main studio. And I've got a wonderful little box set that just showed up in the mail, sitting on my passenger seat right now with one certain superhero on the cover.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about that. Kind of have one of our more normal 4K for yous that we haven't had in a while. Even though next week we do have a very special guest joining us. We will be having Bill Hunt of the Digital Bits here on the 17th. So hopefully we'll see you then.
Outstanding.
But we're not going to waste too much time here. There was only a couple of announcements this week, or rumors, so we're just going to do them real quick here. They will get added into next week's video. Looks like we'll be getting Turbulence, the airplane movie, in September on 4K from, appears to be Synapse, I guess. So that's an oddball. But there you go. And then we got a Fistful of Dynamite, a.k.a. I'm going to get a duck, or Duck You Sucka, I think it's called, or something like that. That's coming in 4K later this year from Kino Lorber. And then we've got Evil Dead Rise, the newer film. Will be coming the 27th of June from Warner Brothers, and that will get a 4K release as well. And then One from the Heart is coming from Studio Canal late this year. And this was one that people were waiting for to hear about, but it's now official. We'll be getting the 4K Steelbook of Battlestar Galactica. I believe this is just the movie from Universal on July 11th, 2023. So the 1978 film that went to theaters, I'd imagine is what this is.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah. I can't imagine they're going to 4K upgrade the television show. That's a different animal entirely.
Even though the show was shot and filmed just like the movie was, and yeah.
Maybe, I mean, it could be one of those things where if this does, enough business, maybe they consider going back and looking at the series.
That could very well be. I could imagine that'd be a possibility. Hey, Clobby. I see Clobby in the chat there. But yeah, so that's your news and announcements for this week. Very light. So other than that, the only thing I really wanted to get into and discuss was the new Superman box set from Warner Brothers. This here is the Steelbook edition, which is already out of print, or hard to come by, I should say. But I do have mine here.
Yeah, get your wallets out on eBay. My God.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. But yes, this chonky bastard here goes nicely with my Batman Steelbook set. I should have brought that up to compare. But we're going to get into some pros and cons of this here real quick. I know you don't really have much of a frame of reference for this yet. And the one thing you won't get, besides the obvious Steelbook covers, is all the goodies that are in this bonus Steelbook here, which include like a certificate, a comic book, some lenticular card and some other stuff like that. But yeah, so that's one of the other bonuses that comes with. But other than that, I mean, the packaging is fairly decent. I like, for the most part, the covers. The only one I'm not a big fan of is, I don't know why they had to do this for Superman 2, where you got on one side just the regular poster art, and the Richard Donner art like this, because it kind of breaks up this uniformed Superman thing they got on the back here. They should have just left it with this cover only. Like, we all would have got the gist of it.
Well, yeah, we always complain about some of the weird artwork on
Yeah.
4K re-releases these days. I mean, like Vacation and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, what on earth are they thinking? It's like, why not just use the original stupid poster art?
Which they did for the main steelbooks, at least. Now, the standard Blu-ray edition, I believe that you have there, does have different art. It's more in line with the older 4K release of Superman the movie.
Yeah.
Now, here's where I'll say this or up front. All these movies look pretty good. 2 and 1, of course, probably being the two that suffer the most. And the Donner cut looks a little bit better than the Lester version. But that's because it was put together more recently, and then they rescanned all the stuff for it. But beware that this is the same exact version of Part 1 we had before. There's one minor difference, and I'll get into that, because a lot of people thought we were getting a new scan of the first film in this set, because I guess there was a new scan that was done, from my understanding, but it's just not included in this for some reason. They did include the original 2.0 stereo track, but they took out the 6-channel 70mm mix that was on the original release.
Huh.
Don't ask me why. That's the only thing they changed. So each one of these movies has a new Dolby Atmos mix, or in the case of the first film, the old Dolby Atmos mix, and has the original 2-channel stereo track mix, aside from the Donner cut, which I think only has a Dolby Atmos mix. But that being said, each of the films does come with a Blu-ray. So you do get a good portion of the special features, but you don't get all of them from the past. Now, this might be, and this is what I was thinking too, Yellow Flash. It says future double dip. Well, here's the thing. I was hoping they would at least give us the Donner cut of Superman 1 in this, because there's 3 versions of the first Superman film. There's a theatrical cut, the Richard Donner cut, and the television cut. And all 3 have been released on Blu-ray. But for some reason on 4K, we've only gotten the theatrical cut and this is the same exact scan and presentation we got before. None of these have Dolby Vision. They're only HDR. But I'm wondering if they won't do that later on in the future. Flash, I'm thinking during right around the time that Superman Legacy releases. Maybe, just maybe, we'll get the new scan of the theatrical cut and perhaps the Donner cut in 4K. That would be nice. Because I prefer that cut of the Superman movie. First movie. It's like 27 minutes longer. I don't know. That's the one that's been standard on Blu-ray for years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I like the original one that I've got now. The first 4K Superman that I have.
Yeah, it's just the theatrical cut as we get here,
Yeah. And I mean, look, visually, I thought the transfer was great, and I thought it was really something. So, I mean, if they've held that together, which I imagine they would have for this release, I'm excited to get home and look at the Donner cut in 4K for the first time. That's what I'm really kind of on about.
Superman 2, the Donner cut, is a major upgrade from the older one, because I believe those versions were done in telecine, and these are straight scans, though. So that's a big difference, too.
Yeah, and now
Superman 3 and 4 look amazing.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I really want to see what Richard Pryor is like in 4K.
Now, I did notice a big difference in the sound mix. So, I mean, some people are going to probably notice a difference there. But for the most part, it retains the original sound mix in the Dolby Atmos. But otherwise, if you want to flip over, you got the 2-channel mix. But yeah, so that's the basics there. You get a little booklet with it and all that stuff. Now, awesome. Let's get to the parts of what you don't get. What you don't get, aside from the TV cut and the extended cut, as I mentioned. Uh, you might want to hang on to, if you have this old box set here, I would, or the DVD version equivalent of, because there's a good portion of special features that are missing. Now, you can go out and get the TV cut that comes with the, I believe, the Richard Donner Superman movie cut, so you'll get a good chunk of the special, at least some of the special features there. The stuff that's on the extended edition is a commentary with Richard Donner and Tom Mankiewicz. 3 documentaries, which were produced in the early 2000s. Taking Flight, The Development of Superman, The Making of Superman, and The Magic Behind the Cape, which are really great documentaries because they have a lot of screen tests and flight tests, and they're hosted by what's-his-face who played Jimmy Olsen. So those are not on this edition. All the restored and additional deleted scenes are not on this edition. All the screen tests are not on this edition. The music-only track is not on this edition. And additional music cues are also not on this edition. So keep that all in mind, kids. And then, I'm not even 100% sure if you get all the Fleischer cartoons. I'd have to check into that. Because see, on my, actually you probably do, because they're, okay, it's on Superman 2 and Superman 2, the director's cut. All right, so the other things you don't get, obviously, are Superman Returns and all the bonus features that go along with that. And you don't get the bonus disc that came in this set back then, which would have been, I believe, in 2006 or whatever it was when they originally produced it. Because in that bonus set, in the set, there's a bonus disc. Actually, there's 2 sets if you got the DVD, or 2 discs if it's the DVD, 1 disc if it's the Blu-ray. And on that is the feature-length documentary, Look Up in the Sky. And for those who may not remember what that is, that's the documentary that Bryan Singer produced with Kevin Spacey narrating it. It's actually a really excellent documentary, believe it or not. It's like 90 minutes in length. And it was also produced by Kevin Burns. And if you don't know his name, he's the one who produced like the baseball documentary. And I think recently he had a Civil War documentary or something like that. And then you've got... at that time, it was brand new feature-length documentary that's missing in 5 parts that I remember right ran somewhere between 90 and 2 hours altogether. But that had a bunch of newer interviews with, I believe some of the last interviews with Richard Donner about Superman, or at least at that time, or for now because he is gone, and along with a couple of other bonus specials. One called The Science of Superman, the other one called The Mythology of Superman. And a tribute to Christopher Reeve is also missing. And the TV pilot for The Adventures of Super Pup. So keep that in mind. None of those things I just said are on this set.
They keep coming out whenever they do these 4K remasters and they come out with these box sets, they seem to be a lot more Spartan these days than in previous releases. And I don't know if they're doing that because of licensing issues for some of those extra features that were on prior releases, or if they're just trying to, here's just the 4K upgrade, but if you still want all the extra goodies, you got to go back and buy the other Blu-ray stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, and I had a similar issue with the Batman set I got because I got the Steelbooks. And in the Steelbooks, they don't include the Blu-ray, so I got to keep my old Blu-ray sets so I can keep all the special features. Because all that's in the Batman Steelbook is just the movie only on 4K. No Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Which is stupid because they really could have just threw all the special features from all 4 films on one disc.
Yeah, that's I keep going back to like the Ghostbusters box set, like the big collector set, and how unique that was by comparison to so many other 4K remasters that they've done with big collectors box sets like this. I mean, that had everything in it. That had stuff you hadn't seen before. There might have been a couple of things missing from prior releases, but generally speaking, I mean, that was truly complete. And I don't see that from a lot of other 4K releases. I see more often like this with Superman. It's like, yeah, it's great. We got a gorgeous 4K remaster of films that we haven't gotten before, which is awesome. But okay, couldn't we have thrown in an extra disc or two with all these special features from the prior special edition releases from the Blu-ray? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that question is.
It would have been nice, and not only that, it would have been nice to get the vintage making ofs rescanned in HD as well, because those are nice to have. And of course, for those who may be wondering, you don't get Supergirl in this either, which is kind of lame. Because Warner does have the rights to that now. Because I do have that on standard Blu-ray, but yeah. So a little bit of a disappointment. Now this version is no longer in print. Like I said, good luck trying to get it. Like Valiant said, it's going for about $300, $400, $500 on eBay right now.
Yeah, you got to spend some money to get that sucker now.
But I think the regular version is only. I think the regular version is only like $99. But if you do grab this version that has the TV movie and the special edition on it, you do get some of those special features that I mentioned, just not all of them. But I do suggest sticking with this, though, if you have it, just for the special features, which is kind of a bummer. But, yeah. So that is pretty much that. So I can recommend getting the standard 4K edition, which I believe you have in your possession now.
Yeah.
But hanging on to your old one if not. And don't get that also confused, because there was a few versions that were released that were basically just the movie discs only, so they didn't have all the special features with them.
Oh, yeah, so. the stripped down versions that, they sold for $10 in the Walmart bargain bin.
Yep. Yeah, so keep in mind it has to be that Legacy collection or whatever it was. Motion picture anthology.
Yeah.
That's the version you want. And it was good. See, I got the foreign release because I got it for like half the price at the time. And I've seen it a lot cheaper than that in recent years. So, yeah, Tim Hayes is right. This is just to basically have the movies in 4K, more or less.
That's it. And for most people, that's all they want. They want a really beautiful transfer in the highest resolution possible for modern technology. And this is it. I mean, as much as we love the special features, let's be honest, there's probably most people out there that, that's not high on their radar. And I get it, but it would have been nice to have.
Pretty much. Now, there wasn't much more for us to cover today. Have you gotten any new 4K movies in recently that you've checked out that you wanted to talk about at all?
I mean, I finally got to sit down, believe it or not, and watch Pulp Fiction all the way through on the 4K release, which looked amazing. I was just blown away. I hadn't watched that movie in several years, and I just really loved how good that thing looked. And then just to sour the mood, I had to throw Reservoir Dogs in right behind it. And that's when it was like, you know what? Now I see it. It's blatantly obvious just at how dark. Like, it was underexposed by half a stop for the entire transfer. Just how dark it was compared to Pulp Fiction. It just really jumped out at me.
That's where I think I was saying, like, I noticed there was something they did to it to try and drain some of the grain out of Reservoir Dogs compared to Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on. Like, I'm like, look, I got this TV calibrated in. I'm not messing with it just to.
It's not horrible, but it is noticeable.
It's not terrible. Because remember the first time I watched it, I'm thinking, I'm like, it's a little dark. Yeah, okay, but I was okay. But when I watched it right next to Pulp Fiction, right, same director, same cinematographer, same everything, same.
They probably had half the light set up though too for Reservoir.
Yeah, but I'm like, no. I mean, they could have easily fixed that in post before doing the transfer to the physical media. I'm like, that was because the Blu-ray that I have is, sharply higher than what's on the 4K. Now, again, it's not terrible. The color is beautiful. Yeah. Everything, the transfer is beautiful. The only problem is it needs about another half to maybe 2/3 of a stop of exposure just punched up, and it would be absolutely perfect.
Now, playing with your settings, would that help that maybe, or?
Oh, yeah, you can. I mean, you can go in there. I mean, like if you're on an LED or an OLED set, depending on what you're using, you can crank the brightness setting, but then you're going to introduce a lot of washout in the black areas.
Well, that or I would try a vivid setting maybe, because I've noticed that's
Yeah,
something where people, when they get darker image on a 4K.
if you've got an OLED or something like that, usually you can adjust backlighting. So you can crank the backlight up. That'll help a little bit. But if you crank the brightness up, that's kind of like a general wash. And then the problem is that, you know, you start losing a lot of the depth in the black areas. Look,
Yeah.
the problem is that it was just a goof on the transfer. I'm kind of hoping that, and I know they're not going to say anything about it, but they'll re-release it again in a couple of years, and they're like, just quietly fix that one minor issue and boost the exposure a half or 2/3 a stop before they put it on the disc again. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not that hard of a fix. It's just one
I
of
mean,
those
I
things.
didn't.
I really watched it and I wondered. I'm like, okay, what did they master this on? Because there's no way that it just seems to me there's no way they mastered this on a monitor that was calibrated right or something. And they said, yeah, this looks fine compared to everything else they've put out. That just, I don't know.
Well,
It looked weird to me.
it's funny because like that's the one where like Studio Canal is also the same company that did Cat's Eye. Now remember that one? I don't remember. I pointed out that
I don't think I've seen
had
that one.
that yellow wash all over it.
Uh,
Yeah, you might not have been here for that show, but like, yeah, compared to the old Blu-ray, you can tell big time. Like, there's no white. All the white has been completely turned yellow in the new 4K, yellow or green, like a
I
yellowish
remember there
green.
was another disc we were talking about that had that problem maybe about a year ago, and I'm trying to remember what it
Yeah,
was. Like all of a sudden, like the color palette was so totally different. And it's one thing to see
yeah.
a color palette that gets weirded out, but to me, it's another thing altogether to go, how did you get the exposure this wrong?
Right.
Because again, that was not there. That wasn't there on the Blu-ray. I mean, I've got the Blu-ray. The Blu-ray looks awesome compared to, I mean, just from the brightness standpoint. But
I was
everything
gonna
else,
say, otherwise the detail is so much better on the newer one.
oh,
Yeah.
it's beautiful. It's just you have to know going in, it's going to be a little bit darker than I think it should be.
I have most of my settings cranked up, but that's just because I want to see all the flaws. That's for my purposes, though. Like I have all the brightness and everything cranked up to where I can make sure I can see. It's easier to see if they've added any like enhancement to the DNR or stuff like that. The worst thing, like once in a while, I'll turn it back down if I'm just watching something to enjoy watching it, but usually I'll crank everything up so I can see it better,
Yeah.
just so I can compare it to whatever. But Adrian Barrera is here and says, if I don't have any of the Christopher Reeve Superman on DVD Blu-ray, is this set a good option? Oh yeah. The only thing to be aware of is if you're somebody who is a connoisseur of special features, and that's just it. Most of those people probably already would have the set I mentioned. So I'm just basically saying, hang on to it, don't sell it. And Valiant will be right back. He's just switching spots. There he is. So yeah, I would just say don't dump your old set is all. Because otherwise you're going to lose some of the special features. That's all I'm pointing out. But if you don't really care that much about special features, this set is fine. And I think it's going for what, like $89-$90 somewhere in there on Amazon right now. I think for the regular one.
Yeah, I don't remember.
It's not that bad.
I mean, it's there. I mean, that's the regular one right there with the
Yeah,
5.
it's going for $89. That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like on these, you've got
Yep.
the original artwork, Superman 2. Okay, and then you've got Superman 2 with the Richard Donner cut,
Yep.
and Superman 3, and Superman 4.
See, on this one, I wish, compared to this set, I wish they had, instead of giving, because this bonus one is almost like a waste of space. Because all the stuff in it is all tucked into one side, and there's nothing going on over here. They could have put the Donner cut separate. Because all this stuff, they could have just slid into the Donner cut or something like that inside the...
Mm-hmm.
This is all the bonus shit here. And stuff like that. So, like, it all fits right in here nicely. They didn't have to do all that. I got a pretty low number, though. 932 out of 13,525.
So there you go, 13,525. I wonder how they came up with that number, but that's what they made.
They
on
probably
those
did 15
box
and
sets.
they probably did 15 and 250 of those or whatever was for, or 150 of those were for reviews and stuff probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
or given
gift
out to
copies.
the crew and family and whatnot. I would imagine.
Very,
But
very
yeah,
much.
so like in that respect, they could have put the two films, two separate covers, because otherwise you got a cover there that's just kind of wasting space for no good reason.
Yeah.
Really. And you can't put a disc in it, because I was sitting here going, oh, before I realized they didn't have all the special features, I'm like, oh, maybe I can use that for Superman Returns. Fuck it. Just throw that in there. But if it actually had disc spots now, I'd probably just use it for the bonus discs. But it don't matter now. I'm just going to have to keep the old set anyway. But all right, so yeah, you check that out. I haven't checked out anything real new yet. I barely got to just kind of look into the Superman box set when I got it yesterday, so I haven't really even got to watch them all the way through outside of the first film I've obviously seen before.
Yeah,
4K,
this showed up today as we're finishing the Disney earnings call thing. So I have not touched this. Now, like I said, I've had the original Superman in 4K with the nice little slip cover. I mean, it's the same transfer that's in here. But
the
like
only
I said,
difference, like I said, is the sound. But yeah,
yeah, what I'm really looking forward to is the being able to watch the Donner cut, and then
we got a
watching
guest.
Superman 3 that
Or not really
I haven't
a guest,
seen.
but
Hey, there he is.
somebody else joining us, I should say.
Watching
Hello.
Superman 3. I haven't watched Superman 3 in years. So
There's a reason for that.
Actually,
I
you know what's
liked it.
funny about that, Robert? Welcome, by the way.
Hello.
Script Doctor and I are going to be talking about our love for Superman 3 this Saturday on the show we do called A-rated B movies and B-rated A movies. I know, we know. It's
you know what? It's a guilty pleasure. What I mean, look,
Yes.
was it as good as the first two? No. But look,
I will-
there was something charming about it. I didn't like the ending. I thought the robot thing was stupid, but I don't know why. I still liked
that scared the
Maybe
shit
it's
out of me
Richard
as a
Pryor.
kid.
Maybe it's Richard Pryor. I loved it. It was fun. It was just fun.
I do love the opening, the slapstick opening, the morning, the Metropolis morning where everyone's walking
yeah.
up and Superman's walking through. I mean, it's just, it was Richard Lester going full on
Right.
comedy mode, which is fine.
No,
Yeah.
in that respect, I totally understand.
Although I haven't, my set, I ordered it months ago and they said they're shipping it, that I'm going to get it on Thursday.
I had that too, but I got mine yesterday. But I got the Steelbook one. Did you get the Steelbook one? I would assume, or
I got the Amazon special edition, whatever that is.
that would be this one, I believe.
Okay.
So that was
which
this
is
the
weird.
limited one.
Yeah, that they hadn't sent it to me, that I'm supposed to get it tomorrow. So
Yeah.
we'll
So I
see
got
if that's the
mine-
case.
They said Thursday, but I got it yesterday. So, but we were talking about how basically it's missing a good portion of the special features, not to mention all the stuff you worked on in Superman Returns. But
Well, there's a reason why Superman Returns
Yes.
is not in that box set.
obviously,
And it has nothing to do with the movie itself. I did offer too. I mean, I could probably make hours and hours of more special features for Superman Returns if anyone was so inclined.
I would
So
love it. But that's just me. I'm a Superman fan, though.
yeah, I mean, it's I having that movie's near and dear to my heart, having spent so long,
Right.
working on it.
I'd imagine so.
It was crazy.
But yeah, I was just going through all the stuff that is not on this new edition that was on the. I have the foreign version here, but this one here that does have Superman Returns and all the other stuff, plus that other bonus disc with Brian's documentary on it that isn't on here either.
Yeah, the Brian's blogs.
Not just that, but the
Oh,
Look
yeah,
Up in
the-
the sky.
Yeah, the Look Up in the Sky, which is a great documentary.
It is. It's amazing documentary, and so
Yeah,
any of the
it's
stuff
really
that was on that bonus
frustrating.
disc, or any of the stuff that was on the special edition of Superman, are not on the newer one here.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know what's on and because I haven't really examined it closely.
Well,
I just-
like I said, I ran through it all this earlier in the show here, just before you got here.
Yeah.
So
So I totally forgot. I knew there was
Yeah.
something new. I just watched in the where I finally got to sit down and watch in the last week because it finally frickin' showed up. Was the Arrow of the last?
I still need to get that.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
I have that.
It's a great set. I mean, and the transfer is really pretty. I love this movie. My only complaint, of course, is that there you
He's
go.
got it.
My only complaint is that they don't have the extended version in 4K. I'm like,
Oh,
that's,
No.
yeah.
Well, the problem is probably that the extended version it wasn't a negative, or
That's true, but
something.
to me, I wish they would just turn around and do like they did with the 4K of Dawn of the Dead and just insert and if you have to upconvert, I don't give a shit. The extra scenes into the 4K version.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it just depends. I mean, if they have the available elements, I have The Last Emperor in 3D.
Oh, you
There's
just
an-
got Tom
They did
Hard.
a 3D transfer of
Oh,
that?
there
Oh
it is.
yes, they did.
Oh, wow.
Tom-
That's a,
Tom
I did
just
not know
got
about
wood.
that.
It's only available in Italy.
Well, hopefully it's not as bad as the Dune transfer. Oh my God. I went through hell to get that because Germany was the only place that had Dune, the original 84 film, transferred into 3D. It is one of the worst transfers I've ever seen in my life, and I wish I wouldn't have wasted my time and effort and money to get it.
Yeah,
I just walked
it's
back.
not
I
the-
saw Flash's comment real quick. Superman 3 has some great moments. Clark Kent versus Superman is one of the best moments. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. There was so much fun stuff in that. I thought it was great.
Yeah, and the Italian Last Emperor is not. It's not great in 3D.
Oh, well, then I'm not so worried about it then.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I ain't gonna worry too much. But and then Dr. Coffinail says, "Have you seen the new Superman Fleischer Blu-ray?" No, I haven't because it doesn't come out till next
And
week.
don't
I
buy
think.
it. Don't buy it.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Well, there you go.
In
You heard
fact,
it from the source.
Well, Bill is going to be talking about this next week. Our buddy Bill Hunt, of course, Robert knows him very well as well. He's coming on for the first time in years to Midnight's Edge to talk with us here on 4K for You. And one of his main things he's going to talk about is how bad they snafu'd this release. Man, did you see it yet, or have you talked to Bill about it at all? Or?
No, I just read Bill's review, and it's really disappointing. And there's a real schism at Warner Brothers. Unfortunately, you got somebody like George Feltenstein, who is one of the most knowledgeable people that's ever existed in the home entertainment business, and then he has no control over what they're doing with the main releases for Warner Home Video and the catalog as well. And it's really too bad. I mean, it's like so many other things that we're dealing with at the studios in terms of films. The institutional knowledge has been left on the sidewalk, where all these executives that used to really know the catalog and knew what they were doing have all been let go because they were older and they were more expensive. Their fees were more expensive, and they got rid of all of these people. So that's why you're seeing more and more mistakes being made. Unless you have someone like, say, a Cliff Stevenson, who's obsessed with, he's like doing the new Rambo set over at Lionsgate, which is incredible because the Rambo set that came out, that the metal box that came out a couple of years ago, was missing various soundtracks. I mean,
they were able to sound good either.
They were able to find the 70mm mag tracks, and the new Rambo set's going to be absolutely definitive.
Oh, well,
Wow.
you've heard it here first, folks. I guess, because this is news to me.
I'm game.
Hell yeah.
And it really depends. I mean, if there are people out there that are fanatics about these movies that work in the business, and there's very few people that really do anymore. And it's too bad. I mean, that's why all these great movies are now being licensed out to third parties, which I'm fine with. If you give something to Second Sight, give Second Sight The Hitcher and Near Dark. I'll buy it.
Guys like Arrow do great jobs. Yeah.
Great. They do an incredible job, And
wow. So is Lionsgate working on the Rambo release, or is that somebody else?
No, Dune.
Yes, I've got that one. That was the only thing I was like upset that didn't have the 3D one, so I sought it out, and then I'm like, I wish I
should have
had
got that. Like when first time I saw you show that on camera, I'm like, damn, that looks nice.
It's really great.
Oh,
but you can only
can't
get
find it anymore.
Yeah, I had it's really hard to find, and you could only get it on the Coke website, and it was German. You had to find somebody to ship it to you because they wouldn't ship to the United States. And I'm really pissed off that like Zavvi UK is not shipping to the US anymore. And it's really,
I saw that.
It's really frustrating that you can't, because I'm used to just buying what I want, and it's really hard.
Was it
now.
a choice of cost, or was it a choice of licensing issues? Like somebody said, you can't
Some of
ship.
It's both. I think sometimes they don't want to ship it. There is, like, you couldn't get Martin directly from Second Sight. George Romero's Martin. I bought it through Amazon UK. So
now you can actually get it through Amazon US too, but it's just, I think it imports from their UK plant or whatever.
Yeah, Tim Hayes in the chat says my only problem with Second Sight is they'll likely region lock the discs. Well, just a region free player.
That is one of the best investments I can tell anybody. I mean, they're not quite what they used to be because 4K plays on everything. But
Yeah.
if you're a special edition person,
Well,
or somebody
sometimes 4K plays on it. There are discs I found that are region locked that I was surprised.
I have not
by.
come across a 4K one yet that has been. But which ones have that you've found?
You know, my Doors. They later released it in the United States, but my Doors disc that I got from Studio Canal was region locked.
Weird.
Was it UK originating?
That was an older one though, so I wonder if they just
some of the I find the US discs not so much, but a lot of the ones that are getting released, like you said, like we got this from Italy and this from Germany and this from the UK. Sometimes those get a little quirky depending on who actually did the pressing and the transfer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's largely gone. And one of the cool things, like I know with the two Uppo players that I have in the house, the 203 and the 205. I mean, they still have a menu system in there where you can go region select if you need to and just let it know.
Yeah, somebody mentioned, Tomb of Dracula just mentioned this. This is the Second Sight Picnic at Hanging Rock.
Oh.
This is a great Peter Weir's Picnic at Hanging Rock. This is an amazing set. I just got this. And again, Second Sight, I mean, they do it upright. They got the book that it's based on, art cards. I mean, if you like this, if you're a Peter Weir fan, I'm a huge Peter Weir fan. So I had to get this. I have the Criterion too. I mean, I've bought this movie like 8 times in my life. So,
well, and that's just it with some of these releases. It's been several times for me too. But you know, with Rambo, even though I bought it originally when Studio Canal just brought out the single 4K editions.
Yeah.
Then I bought the Best Buy exclusive Steelbook set because that was the only time you could originally only get Last Blood with the director's cut.
Yep.
And then now this, so hey, I'll do it. I've got older DVD versions and Blu-ray versions still too.
I think they're going to have the director's cut of 5 on there as 2. I think they're going to have it there.
I know it's been released on standard Blu-ray outside of the US, but I'm hoping it's a 4K, even though I think it's still up converted anyway. But so it'd be nice to have.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That'd be awesome. That's news to us. That's a first. So there you go. Add that to the news table. But yeah, anything that you want to touch on, Robert, that you may have gotten this week? We're actually just kind of wrapping things up. So, but if you got anything?
Oh yeah, no, I did.
Nothing
really. Well, the only thing that I got cool I got the Sadness in 4K. The Taiwanese. If you haven't seen this horror film, I think it's streaming on Shudder. This movie rules. This movie is so good. It's sort of a new take on the zombie film. It is chock-a-block full of amazing gore. I love it. So
I got Train to Busan on 4K. I need to go back and sit down and watch that all the way through.
Oh, it's great. That's a really nice disc.
It is. I got to watch. I put it on. The kids were watching it, and then I got distracted. I was making dinner. This was a few weeks ago, and I just I need to go sit down and watch this. But into school year stuff, man, I'm just slammed right now. So I'm looking forward to a little bit more relaxed summer when I can go back and really just sit on the sofa and veg out with the whole big giant sound system on. And let those Krell lamps just light the room up. And I got discs to go through like crazy.
I spent last week watching Guardians of the Galaxy in 3D, Guardian Volume 2 in 3D, Infinity War in 3D, Endgame in 3D. And then this week I watched, and these are older releases, but I watched The Equalizer 1 and 2 to get refreshed for Part 3 coming up here.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's all I've really watched. Like I barely even got to just kind of buzz through the Superman set real quick, just to kind of look at the transfers real quick to kind of get an idea of how they look for today. But like I said, I'm really looking forward to next week because we're going to talk to Bill about that new Superman Fleischer snafu. So if you guys cancel that, be sure to tell Amazon why you're canceling or whoever you cancel it from, so they know why.
Yeah,
otherwise it's just going to get lost in the churn.
You know, I remember, what was it, like Cinderella, the Disney animated Cinderella that was scrubbed like that? I mean, if people just don't know what they're doing or don't understand.
On the new 4K one? Or
no, the old. I
was going to say, I thought they fixed that on the new 4K. Yeah,
it's amazing because what people don't understand is DNR, digital noise reduction. You're not removing anything. What you're doing is you're smearing the picture.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know,
That's it.
which is you're smearing it. And so and the reason that came about is like when Blu-ray and 4K became, a thing, and they started demoing these things, they would use Pixar movies to demo because they look so good, but they don't
Because
have
they
any
look
grain in
picture
them at
perfect.
all.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know,
there's
and so there was like if you looked at like an 80s movie like Ghostbusters or 70s movie like
Exactly,
Close
yeah.
Encounters that had multiple in the visual effect shots, they were optically printed, so you're looking at multiple pieces of film combined into one, where the resolution sometimes it is because it's multiple layers of optical printing, it wasn't as sharp, or you saw the dirt between the layers. I mean, that was just a function of
It's
sometimes
just
they could clean it
natural.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
and a
even
lot
then,
of
the cleanup,
people,
though, you can lose some of the edges and you can lose some of the details. I mean, the best way I've seen the best transfers is if like you got a nice solid color on screen, you're supposed to see like it move, right? Like they're supposed to look like there's little dots moving around. As
Yeah, I
long
mean,
as you're seeing that, that's film, right? Like that's the way it's
yeah,
supposed to
that's
look.
yeah, that's photochemical, and
I know.
unless you're
I'm trying.
watching,
I know it sounds really kind of, I'm really simplifying it, but when you don't see that and everything looks smudged, you're missing out on clarity. You're missing out on detail. It's just basically blurring it, like you said, and it looks horrible. I mean, there's a few shots here and there in certain movies you can't get away with it. They will use it just to try and smooth it out to where it looks better between, one shot or another. But in some cases, I just say I would wish they would just let some of that stuff go.
That's it.
Like you just
There's
said,
nothing. Film grain is natural. It's natural.
It is.
To
It's
the
natural.
film. It's organic to what they shot. It's like, I think one of the best 4K Blu-rays out there, going back beyond just 20 to 30 years in terms of when the film was produced. Go back to like the bridge on the River Kwai. I mean, that looks amazing. It's a beautiful transfer. They didn't touch a single grain in the whole damn thing. And it looks fine. It looks amazing. But
I'm sure they did apply a little bit, but they just balanced it out.
Well, okay, but I think you and I have had this conversation before. Like I've done photography editing for years, and you can go into Lightroom, or you can go into, like, if you're doing video with DaVinci Resolve or anything else, you can go into these things, and there's two types of noise reduction. There's chroma and there's luminance. Okay, you can do color digital noise reduction that is typically fairly non-destructive. But it's the luminance noise reduction, the brightness noise reduction. That's what rips and strips things out. Yep. That's what, I want to smooth the grain out, but then all of a sudden your fine detail is gone as well. So, I mean, you're not, it's like Robert said, you're not gaining anything. You're actually subtracting from the image to get this trick, I guess, to now it looks smooth or whatever. But I think it looks like trash. I don't want to see any. It's like, Tom, you and I joked for years about like the Total Recall redos that they did. Like when they had the DVD actually looked better than the Blu-ray, because when the Blu-ray came out, when the first 4K disc came out, they had so much DNR in it. It looked awful. It just looked terrible. Then they finally remastered it for the 30th anniversary or whatever a couple of years ago, and they said, okay, we won't do any DNR this time. And it looked so much better. There was so much more detail in it. That happens all the time. I don't know why that some of these remastering engineers feel the need to just go ahead and just do this. I don't get it. I don't get it, because they think, they look at it and they go, oh, well, that grain's nasty. I don't see that in my Arri Alexa LF cameras anymore. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I sent you this in the private chat. So,
I mean, I hate the modern trailer, but I mean, it looks pretty good considering it's coming through, YouTube.
Well, if you notice that the Steelbook and the collector's edition both have the original artwork.
I think they changed it, or it's like, that's probably the artwork on the inside label of the disc, I bet, actually.
Yeah. And the other one,
that other crappy one,
a Bronx Tale coming.
Yeah, well, we got that one last week, but we got some more detail on it now. Real quick here.
I know, I missed the one last week.
Newly remastered in 4K. It doesn't say if it's coming from the negative or not, but I would assume so. And it's got some new interviews with De Niro and Chaz.
John Wick, June 14th. John Wick 4. That's what I want.
Hey, they redated To Live and Die in LA to what, July 12th? July 12th or 18th?
You really think that movie's ever going to come out for you?
I do. I think it's. They put it up. Kino Lorber put it up for pre-order today.
Oh, Kino did? Oh, wow.
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
Well, congratulations. I know you've been waiting forever for that one.
Thank you. Yes, I have been.
I was like giving you shit. I'm like, you really think you guys are gonna get that movie? They know you want it so bad.
I think I have 7 versions of it on Blu-ray. I got the one that I got the one that I was missing the most, which was the French book. There's a company that makes these beautiful books on the films that I had to have it. And what's great is, I don't know if anyone uses it, but Google Translate on the app, the phone app, now translates instantaneously text. So you can just hold your phone up and read whatever language you want to read.
That.
Yeah, I've been using
Congratulations. The universal translator from Star Trek is now real.
At least in text form. By the way, it's amazing because I've been building this 4.5-foot model of the space battleship Andromeda from Star Blazers, and it has hundreds of fiber optics in it. And if I didn't have it, I never would be able to have made it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not done yet. It's about 3/4 of the way finished. But I mean, it's huge. It's probably the biggest model I've ever built, to be honest, and not including flying model rockets. But it's pretty big, and I wouldn't have been able to do it at all if I did not have this new app. And now I can read whatever I can buy. There were film books that I never bought, European film books, because they were in a different language. Now I can buy them all. Now, if I could just go back and get what I want now is Google. I never wanted Google Glass before, but now I want Google Glass, where I can literally have Google Glass translate in the language right in front of me. I love it. I love the world we live in.
The future is now.
It is true.
Can't wait. Scott Hughes says, despite the quality of the movies, wouldn't it have been better to include Superman Returns and Supergirl? I agree. At least Supergirl should have gotten a 4K treatment in this one.
Yeah, I mean, and again, nobody thinks about that, I'm sure.
They did uncover the director's cut a few years back, but it's all.
Although I will say this. I will say this. For people that might have forgotten that Helen Slater played Supergirl, they might be reminded soon. Yeah. Maybe.
Oh, so that is coming to 4K.
You never know when she's going to show up. That's all I'm saying. You just never know. You never know. Where suddenly, wow, who would have thought Helen Slater as Supergirl might show up in another movie? Oh, wait, what? Huh?
Oh, you're talking about the Flash movie. Yeah.
I didn't say shit.
I know what you're talking about. SJ Shady's 0169 says, when will we get a Lethal Weapon 4 box set, do you think? Honestly, SJ Shady, I'm assuming that is probably something that if they didn't have it planned for the 100th anniversary of Warner Brothers, you best believe they probably got it planned for when Lethal Weapon 5 comes out.
If it ever does.
Yeah.
Well, it was happening until the writer's strike, but I don't know how far along it was. Because Mel Gibson was going to direct. I don't know if you heard that or not, but
I mean, isn't Danny Glover like 75?
Yeah, but that's why they got to get it done now.
I guess.
Well, yeah, because you know why he's too old for this shit.
He really is.
He's way too old for this shit. That's what he's got to say now.
Figure that joke would have landed funnier. Come on, it's Lethal Weapon. He's too old for this shit.
He is too old. Danny Glover is 76. So
not only that, it'd be nice to get the director's cut in a decent version too of all 3 of the first films.
Yeah, I mean, if Indiana Jones can come back and an 80-year-old actor is going to play canonically 70, then Danny Glover can come back.
He's just a few years retired, that's all.
Sure. How long do cops stay on the force?
Well, from what I heard, it was supposed to be more about Butters and Mel Gibson, but Danny Glover's in it, and so is their kids. Which would be Chris Rock's kid and Mel Gibson's kids are now adults.
Oh.
So, yeah, that's what I've been hearing. But Richard Donner was planning on making this before he passed.
Look, I can't believe we're getting Beverly Hills Cop AF.
I heard about the screening. Did you see it at all, or did you talk to anybody who's seen it?
No. Did people like it?
The individual who saw it said it wasn't as bad as they were expecting it to be. That's not a ringing endorsement.
No.
They said it's a lot of great cameos. There's some fun bits, but the basic storyline, for those who may not know real quick, it's Axel's daughter, who's estranged, and her husband or boyfriend, husband to be, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, I get wrapped up into some business, and of course they need Axel's help. And
okay.
she is unfortunately trying too hard to be like Daddy, I guess, in the movie. That's what this individual said, that her bits do not land. Like, she tries to do some Axel Foley style bits and they don't land, but he does some that do land, I guess. And of course, a slew of cameos. The only one I didn't hear coming back was Ronnie Cox. So outside of that, like, everybody's back.
How old is Ronnie Cox now, though?
506.
But
I
you
was
know
about
what?
to say, Yoda?
He still
He
kicking.
still looks pretty good for his age, actually. Yeah.
'Cause he's out there on the road singing. He's a singer. He is 84.
I was gonna say I seen an interview with him like
Wow.
not that long ago, but
And he's really spry.
I don't know if he'll have a minor cameo in this or not. But from what I heard, basically all the past characters have a cameo at least. So yeah. But I can't wait to see it. But I'm pessimistic about it.
Yeah, I just look. Beverly Hills Cop, as you know, Tom, one of our favorite movies of the 80s.
Yes. One of
And
my
I
favorites,
I have a
yeah.
lot of love for Beverly Hills Cop 2 as well, as far as
Yeah,
80s
Tony
sequels
Scott
goes.
directed. Yeah.
But I mean, the fact that they're bringing something like that back, I mean, what are they going to do? What are kids going to do in 20 years? What are they going to remake? I mean, where are, if you're a movie fan, aside from the MCU, what big franchises do you get that are yours? John Wick being one, I guess.
Yeah, we've had this discussion.
Where are the new IPs?
Not many. Even John Wick is getting a little longer in the tooth if you think about it now.
Yeah, and I mean,
Well-
if you're a kid, even if you're 25 years old, how many IPs do you have in your life that are yours? What did you grow up with that was from your generation?
Harry Potter and Hunger Games, and that's
but more specifically, Robert, here's the question: is not what did you grow up with? Because there's been a lot of spaghetti thrown against the wall. What are you going to remember? How many IPs are actually going to be sustaining to where you grew up with them? Like I was born in '79.
Well, look at my shirt.
I was an '80s kid.
I've got 20 years worth of horror movies right there on my shirt.
Yeah, I mean, we can go
Not
back
even
and
20.
name fondly to this day things like Star Wars, things like Indiana Jones, the Goonies, the Superman movies. I mean, we can go on and on and on. E.T., all these amazing things.
Alien,
Ghostbusters, my
Back
God.
to the Future.
Yeah.
The
It's endless.
the horror franchises, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween.
Are 20-year-olds today, Robert, going to remember or give a flying shit about Marvel Phase 4 in 10 years? They're going to give a shit about it next year.
I think they'll always care about the Infinity Saga, like the first 23 movies.
Yeah, the first 10 movies.
That's what I'm saying. I'm talking about new stuff, but I mean, look at everything else out there.
No, there is no new IP because the thing is nobody's spending the kind of spectacle dollars that you need to create these kinds of things anymore. They're only putting money toward known quantities.
It's a glut of product. Look at the number of movies that we had hit cinemas.
Somebody,
in the
Tua
80s.
Dracula says The Evil Dead's from 1981.
I know, right? I was just going to make this point. Like, all the franchises they're trying to reinvigorate are from the 80s and 90s, and if not even the 70s.
What are they going to reinvigorate 30 years from now? Nothing. You could not reinvigorate a damn thing from today.
It's going to be so carbon copy. Maybe, hopefully, they'll have come up with more original things by then. Because maybe we're hitting that like dam of creativity. Because Quentin Tarantino has said it himself. We've had, the 1950s were a horrible era for movies. He says the 80s, but I understand why he says that. But I don't agree with him, but I understand what he means as far as taking chances. Because we're seeing a lot of the similar crap up before the woke period in the McDonaldization of movies.
The one thing about the 80s, the reason that the 80s were the 80s is because you had the explosion of cable and home video.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
that really changed. It turned everybody into movie fanatics. And the movies of the 80s were very populist, as opposed to, like, if you look at the movies of the 70s, which I'm a huge fan of movies of the 70s, they were very, as a matter of fact, they were far more mature If you go back and
Yes.
you watch your standard 70s movie, whether it's Taxi Driver or Network, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
or One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, or Clockwork Orange, Clute, you know, any movie from the 70s, it seems like adults with a maturity level that we don't even have in our culture anymore. Like adults
No, you're
today,
right.
40
Yep.
and 50-year-old adults are just like us, arrested adolescents. I go back and I watch movies of the 70s, and it feels like, even though I'm older now than most of the people who are in 70s movies were, I feel they're way more mature than I ever was and am now.
That is
Because
pretty much Tarantino's point, basically, is that they
yeah,
took
I mean,
chances and they were more realistic. And there was these, you would have just basically asinine endings in the 80s for no good reason that made no sense, he said. But the audience ate it up.
well, I would say the maturity level of people now is we are far more immature as a society
I think that's part of it, yes.
than we were in the 60s, 70s, because, you know, we had lived through a time, first of all, we had great public education. I mean, not everywhere, but people had to learn civics. You know, our general level of education, the general level of education right now of people like going into college, it's abhorrent. How people know so little. I mean, you ask somebody geography, nobody knows where anything is on a map. I mean, it's unbelievable. And when you had to learn like all the state capitals. You know, you had to learn all the countries of the world.
Cursive.
You had to know cursive. Yeah. You had to know geography. You had to know where are all the continents, you know, and it was the kind of thing everybody knew that. And nowadays people are like, huh? What? And the level, and when you knew all of these things, your general discourse, just in daily conversation, you could speak more about the world, you know, and kids had jobs. I mean, I had a paper route in the 70s. You know, when you had a paper route, you were on your own businessman, because you had to go collect money from the people that were on your route, and if they didn't pay you, I'd still have to pay the Seattle Times. You know, so I'm 11 and 12 years old, and I'm a businessman. I'm out there, okay, Mrs. So and so, you need to pay for your monthly subscription to the paper because I'm bringing it to your house every day on my bike or walking. You know, it was just a different world.
It was, and I mean, I'm not going to pretend that my generation didn't even have it had it probably even softer than yours, Robert, to a point, because you're a few years older than me. But you know, I started working at 13.
Yeah, oh yeah, me too.
And these kids nowadays, they just don't want to work at all. But I mean, I don't want to get down this kind of thing with old man yelling at clouds thing.
It's
they
not
have
just
no sense of history either. You're right.
Yeah, it's not just that it's different, and it's what is very interesting is we were expected to have a certain level of general education that we had to live up to. You know, now people talk about how SAT tests are racist. Just so it's such or mathematics.
They're so racist.
And now they're trying to teach Common Core.
Being on time is racist too.
Yes,
I mean, it's just
accountability.
It's bizarre, and the idea was that also, life's hard, and you're going to get beat up, figuratively, literally, and in my family, it's like, well, deal with it. Oh, you got C's in your report card. Why'd you get C's? It's your fault. You didn't work hard enough. You better work harder, because if you don't bring a 3.5 home on your next report card, there's going to be hell to pay. I mean, we all lived in that world.
Yep.
And there was the idea that a teacher or somebody else other than yourself would be responsible. And when was the last time any kid feared the fact they brought home a bad report card? Man,
no.
Yeah, because now it's, you gave my baby a bad grade.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Like, and again, nobody takes you see it with bringing it back to the studio level. If you're in charge of remastering the Fleischer cartoons, there should be somebody with a vested interest who loves those cartoons overseeing the remaster.
Well, and they're a piece of history.
And a guy like George Feltenstein is that guy at Warner Brothers. And George Feltenstein should be overseeing anything to do with catalog titles, whether they're Warner Archive or not.
I agree. And
By the way,
deeper
Warner Archive,
week,
they send me shit. So I've got all their
I got to get on their list.
Releases.
Oh,
They're
nice. But
amazing.
you didn't get the Superman one, or they?
I got
You
the
just get
Looney
the Warner
Tunes.
Archive. You don't get the
Yeah, I don't get. I
regular
just get
ones.
Warner Archive.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that next week with Bill. I think that's going to be a pretty interesting topic on top of just, where home media is at in general. It's been a while since I've got a chance to talk to him myself, so it'll be.
Stan Lee in the chat brings up something interesting. He
Yes.
says, does someone need to love them just to do a good job? I would say when it comes to the curation of art, yes.
Even if they don't
Because-
love the movie, they have to love the idea of at least preserving the film.
Yes, or you have to understand what it is that you're preserving. And you have to understand, and I think there's a lot of people that really don't care. I have a friend that works in QC, like whenever you do a transfer, it has to be sent through QC, and he rejects a lot of things. And it's shocking to know how little is spent, because people don't have the time, they don't have the money to pay people correctly.
Well, I've said it. They need to start sending it to people like us to QC this stuff, because we catch a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I caught the Friday the 13th deal and some of the other stuff too, and I don't know, other people have too in our chat and brought it to our attention. And sometimes it's just minor things you can't expect them to really do anything about, but other times it's like, no, we got to hold them accountable. And like I said, I think we'll get into that deeper next week. But I want to thank you guys for hopping in here. I appreciate it, and it's always fun to get to talk to you, Robert, of course, and hopefully you'll be able to join us next week.
I like talking to Valiant Renegade too.
Yeah, he knows his stuff when it comes to the techie world. So,
Oh yeah, it's always
we're
great
gonna
to
have
be on this panel with Robert. Yeah.
I think we're going to have a very interesting conversation next week with Bill. So hopefully both you guys are here along with you guys out there in the chat. I want to thank you all for being here as well. Check out the Burnett work. Do you got anything coming up here you want to plug on your way out?
Valiant?
I'm still brain baked. We did an earnings call this afternoon.
He just got done doing a Disney earnings call.
3 hours. Yeah. We had 2,000 people watching us cover the Disney earnings. I was like, what the hell's going on? People are interested in it. It's great. But yeah, my brain is kind of on rest mode at this point. But I was glad to be here. As far as coming up, we'll have some clips from the earnings call coming up. I'm sitting here texting with Andrew, Legal Mindset, right now. Planning some stuff out. Of course, the Sunday live show as always. Tomorrow I'm getting a little bit of a break, finally, thank God. Renegade Jr. and I, his end of the school year field trip. We are heading down to Lafitte, Louisiana, and going to be getting on some party barges and some airboats. I got some GoPro cameras. We're going to have some fun. So, yeah.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Robert, anything you got coming up you want to plug?
No, just I've been working on a presentation I have to make on Friday all week, and then I've just been doing I've been doing regular observations. I'm doing one tonight on an article I read that I really loved about the venture capital philosophy infecting IPs and what it's done to Hollywood.
Interesting.
I like it. It's a really good article. So check that out, and we're just trying to do more stuff on the channel. So
Awesome.
All been good.
All right, well, check out the network. Check out Valiant Renegades channel. You can find me a little later on Physical Media discussion with Fanzine and all those guys over there, where we'll be talking about what we've watched the last couple of weeks here. So hopefully we'll see you guys there. And until then, take care of yourselves and each other. See ya.